Hey y'all, how's it going? Welcome back to the podcast. I kind of missed last month. I kind of released a video where I was talking about some stuff. It wasn't really part of the podcast, but if you go back and watch it, which a lot of y'all have, it's one of my best performing videos ever. But that's was to work as my podcast episode last month because I talked about what I was going through with YouTube and stuff. Um, so I kind of skipped an episode, but I kind of didn't. But we are back, and this time I have a guest on again that I've been promising. My brother is here.
Hey y'all.
And we're just gonna continue talking about me and explaining why I feel like uh why I wanted to talk about mental health and why I feel like I have a viewpoint that might be helpful for y'all to listen to and stuff for it. Yeah, this should be the last one that I'm doing that way. I have other guests lined up now, and we're gonna get into talking about them and get y'all more viewpoints and because everybody's mental health is different, so y'all can try to find somebody that comes on and talks that kind of is similar to how your brain works so you can help feel um, some connection there. But like I said, for now, we're going to talk about me. Uh, so, do you have anything specifically you want to just say that you've noticed about my mental health? Anything that you've always wanted to, or you want to just, do you remember any time in the past where I like started, where you noticed when do you think you noticed? Not when do you think it started, but when do you think you noticed I had some mental health issues or
Well, we're
started
really
having
close in
those?
age,
Yeah.
so noticing something like that seems like it would be kind of hard when I'm already in my own world at about the same age as you when you would have been starting to go through that or showing the signs of things like that. I mean, probably late middle school, early high school would have been that, and that was um probably say when our friend groups started diverging significantly from each other. It stopped being so much
Just neighborhood friends.
neighborhood friends and became bigger. And because of that, and because you're not only branching out, but I'm lagging behind you in that sense,
Yeah.
catching that was hard. But yeah, I think somewhere around there.
I just want to pop in and apologize. There's some audio cutting issues because if I turn my head away from the mic to look at somebody that I'm talking to, as you can see, I'm still not used to that. I need to adjust the mic different for podcast as I do for like streams and stuff. So hopefully next time we can fix it. I don't think you'll miss out on any information. It might just be kind of jarring to listen to, so I do apologize for that. But I still hope y'all enjoyed the episode. It was one of the more enjoyable ones for me to record. I think it's a very meaningful one for me. So please enjoy the episode, even with all the audio issues.
Probably.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I've always looked back on like stuff like that. It was um like the friends I had a you kept a lot of like now I kept a lot of my friends to this day, but in like school and stuff, you tended to have like the same friends you would hang out with regularly and stuff for a long time. And
Yeah.
I was constantly the person I spent the most time with was changing a lot until like I met
Hmm.
like Dwayne and stuff where I was hanging out with Dwayne all the time. But for a lot of the time it was always changing and you had the friend group that I like what I have now, even though I don't see everybody much, is
Hmm.
still like you if I was at task somebody to name like who my best friends are, it'd be very easy for anybody to that knows me to just list off those people because it's been
Yeah.
those people for so long. Minus one or two, but yeah. So I that was something always, and now like because of my struggle with, I love my friends and the ones that I have, but we don't enjoy the same stuff. Like our favorite things are not the same. There's not like
Yeah.
I have Tonio and I are supposed to go see a musical around my birthday. I don't have a lot of friends to just be like, hey, let's go see a musical with. I don't have friends to go to like an anime convention with. Like, I don't
Sure.
have friends that like that same. And I never really, besides you, growing up and stuff, there was no. I didn't have any nerdy friends because I
Yeah.
was. I don't know if I was hiding my nerdy side. Like I would watch, like Jordan and I watched a lot of anime together and stuff, but
Yeah.
there's still like my nerdy side wasn't what showed out in public. It's not like I was. I don't think I was trying to hide it. It just was. It came to be based off of the people I was hanging around and stuff. It's like
Yeah.
obviously I'm not going to be talking about anime when I'm hanging out with people who are watching anime, or I'm not going to talk about the sci-fi show that I was watching because nobody here cares about killjoys or whatever.
Sure.
Um,
I think you and I had a very similar problem that we found different solutions to. Yours was to kind of become more introverted and to narrow down your friends, and mine was to keep widening the friend group. So mine, where you're saying that I kind of had all these same friends, I just didn't really abandon those friendships, but they became less and less strong because the the things that we shared common interests just weren't really there anymore. And it wasn't until, for me at least, until like senior year of high school that it was kind of like, oh, well, y'all are all, everybody's kind of separating and doing different things. And now this is where really common interests are going to be solidified because you now know, like, this person is going to go do this thing. They've gone and done the thing that they wanted to do. But I definitely um,
that's
think we had similar problems with that.
that's something that's strange though, because like you got like with my closest friends, I don't besides even now because I didn't watch football much last year. Our main thing was always talking about sports together,
Hmm.
and now it's like because I haven't been watching as much because like I've realized I was only there was a lot of especially with like football was a conversational thing. It wasn't like
Yeah,
I don't know. Like I enjoyed rooting for a team. I enjoy like picking something out and following it and rooting
sure.
for it. But I realized that I don't enjoy just sitting and watching it really on my own. It was more of a, last year because usually I wasn't watching football by myself. It would be at least somebody else there watching with me and stuff.
Yeah.
And I realized like um, I didn't enjoy it as much. But it's crazy that even though with a lot of my friends that's what we shared in common, that these people are still I'm still close with all of them. Like I
Hmm.
went to the beach house with some friends. It's like, yeah, we don't share much in common, but we love each other and we can spend this time together and still have fun together, even though we don't typically have fun doing the same things.
Hmm.
There's certain things like everybody's going like if you're going to the beach and like it's just
Yeah,
everybody's gonna
everybody's
find
got
a way to
some.
have some
Yeah.
type of fun. And like we made compromise. Like we did some things that like I might enjoy more than somebody else, and then we did some like I went out with the fireworks, even though my anxiety gets bad with fireworks, but I was fine because I don't. I my brain something about it. My brain didn't trigger that instant like fall to the ground. Remember that Fourth of July party we went to in Virginia Beach a few
Hmm.
years ago, and they started fireworks without warning, and I like started freaking out right away.
Yeah.
For some reason, I didn't. It didn't real like I did freak out a little bit, but it wasn't like instant want to drop to the ground type of
Felt safe with the
feeling
people
because
around you.
which is weird because it's not a thought thing, it's just whatever triggers it, it's an instant reaction type thing usually, and
Yeah.
it's like weird that that's able to fix that. But yeah, it's strange that the friendships work that way, even though we don't have stuff in common that we're able to still really enjoy stuff. Is weird. I mean, there was something I thought of when you were talking about when you started to notice changes and stuff, but because I didn't notice until I didn't really know. Like I was, people had suggested that I might be depressed, and I never really knew much about anxiety disorder, so I never like even thought that I might have anxiety disorder. I did think a lot about my depression and stuff
Yeah.
until probably like, especially the anxiety. I didn't notice until the day I blacked out and had to get sent to see the doctor for the first time when I was in the army. And I was 23 at the time. But then looking back, I can think about times in elementary school where I still the fact that I still think about this moment means that I was having anxiety then about the moment because I wouldn't have remembered it then really, and I
Yeah.
still remember it to this day. Something from like third grade uh, that triggered my anxiety then, and
Hmm.
still kind of triggers it now. It's like, oh, I have had anxiety issues my whole life. I just, well, maybe not my whole life because third grade is like the first time I really remember it. Um, so I might not have had it before then. Maybe I did, and I just can't remember. But I remember other stuff from before then, so maybe. But
I mean, third grade, that was when we made our big move, right?
yeah, switch
Switch
schools.
schools, and yeah, I guess that makes a lot of sense. The big change, that was the first like big change in your conscious life.
Yeah, had to make new friends and all this. When I feel like I had a decent amount of friends before switching, and then I switch over and have to like meet new people, make new friends. And I don't remember if it was third or fourth grade, but there was around then there was a group of people who started like picking on me and like making a little fun of me and stuff and bullying me basically. I always bring up the fact that I ended up becoming friends with all these people later on, but
Yeah,
so that also probably played a part, and a part of that them doing that might have been the fact that I switched. I was new and stuff. I don't know, but it's crazy. I couldn't. Depression has always been hard for me to put a finger on when it started, but at least with anxiety, it feels like it was around that time. Something else happened at that time too, though, that might have triggered the same stuff. So, because that was around the time when the sexual assault stuff was going on with me, was also around when we were switching schools. So it might those two things together probably played a big impact on,
yeah. I mean,
because it wasn't. I mean, it's
big things.
they. I got diagnosed with PTSD, and I'm pretty sure it's just from that. So
Hmm.
it's probably a big reason that that happened. Even though for a long time I tried to think that it didn't affect me, looking back, it definitely had an impact on some
Everybody,
things.
everything has an impact, man.
But I mean that's the same with my dad leaving. It's like for the most I don't care, but there's also like a part of my brain like I have very strong abandonment issues and like stuff and feel like
Yeah,
unwanted a lot, and obviously that has to like that stems from the fact that my dad left,
yeah,
especially
and
the
that
feeling unwanted and stuff. Just
probably plays a big factor into moving, and you already have this anxiety about feeling unwanted or whatever, and then you move somewhere else, and now you have to worry about whether unconsciously are these people going to
accept me
want
like
me
I
and
am,
accept me and everything,
which is something
so
um, that was through school. I was there was a lot of times where I was just doing stuff to. I had a lot of fear of missing out, and I wanted to constantly be there and
mhm.
fitting in stuff. So I started skipping classes and stuff in high school because I didn't want something to happen and me not be there and stuff. And it was a big part of like not wanting to be ostracized from the group or pushed out of the group or
Yeah,
by just missing one moment, which wouldn't happen. But
I mean, I was in the same boat for a long time too.
I talked to somebody that was in this group of people that I would hang out with regularly, and but me and him were never really close. But I talked to him a few years ago. We were out drinking together, and he was like, "Man, I always thought you were a cool dude." And it was like, but I could always tell that you were like you weren't doing your best. Like I thought really highly on you of you and all this stuff. And I've talked to him maybe 2 3 times at school, but
Hmm.
I would hang out with the same groups he would hang out with, and it was just like very eye opening to hear that stuff from him. It's like you didn't have to do that. You were a cool guy. Like you didn't have to skip classes. You could have like done this and that. You would have been okay. And I was like, dang, it's just kind of
I mean, even at that, that's an adult
yeah,
with
that's true.
adult emotions and feelings and everything. Looking back on what decision they would have made, you know,
But
as I wouldn't I wouldn't even try to be mean to somebody these days. But you know, back then, this is different, completely different person. It didn't even cross my mind, and
it's like there's somebody like where I get my massages done. There's a hairdresser there that we went to school with her, and I don't think we ever talked before, but now every time I run into her, we talk for a little bit, and she's like, "Oh yeah, and you seem like you were a cool guy and stuff like that." But back then, I was always like, "These people are judging me. These people are,"
hmm.
but all these people have come, like multiple people have come out, and it's like there was a we had a waitress that we went to school. Dwayne and I had a waitress one time. We went to school with her, and we were talking. She's like, "Do you remember me?" I was like, "Of course." She was like she seemed shocked that I remembered her, but she remembered me, which is for me is shocking. It's like, of course
Yeah.
I remember who you are. You had, you were known and people knew who you were and stuff. Like I felt like I wasn't, but she remembered who I was. but she seemed shocked that. So it's like crazy to even as at my age when I've spent more time out of school now than I was in school almost.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, I've now spent more time officially out of school than I was in school. Um, so it's just weird to see just that effect of other how
Yeah.
other people saw me back. At least how they say they saw me back then.
Yeah. I mean, like, one of those things is just at that time you're forming all of those different neural pathways, and you have all of these different uh, neurotransmitters and chemicals being released, some on these grandiose levels for the first times, and your brain's trying to figure out how to utilize them and how to process all that, and the physical side, and then the kind of mind side of that. You're in your own world. Everything is just you. There are other people and you might think about them, but that's a conscious effort to think about them. I think most of the time, uh, teenagers, people, in your middle school years, your high school years, that's where, even in your college years, that's where you are. You're all about you until you get older and realize, and some of those things start to calm down a little bit, that you know
I don't. I was never. I don't. I don't know, because I've always put too much into like other people and not been.
doesn't that come back a little bit to yourself though?
I guess it's like I don't know.
That's you. In what I mean is, like, that's you in
Yeah,
your head, and you overthinking
well,
about
about those
someone else,
aspects. Yeah.
and doing that and being better for other people and all.
But there's this. I got into a conversation with a couple of friends about this topic one time. Is one person said every everything is inherently selfish because even when you're doing something to make somebody else happy, it's because making them happy will make you feel better.
Was that me?
But no,
Because that's been my take on things for a long
I
time.
thought I used to think that way, and then the other friend I was talking to was like, no, because um the fact the fact of in itself that somebody else feeling happy makes you feel better, makes you not selfish in itself. So the act doing the act to make yourself feel better doesn't it doesn't matter because the fact that that makes you feel better is what makes it unselfish.
Yeah.
So the
I mean, at
fact
the
that
end of the
somebody
day,
else
you're
being a
still doing it,
yeah, but the fact
right?
that the other person being happy is what makes you happy. You're not. You're still doing it to make the other person happy. Rather,
Right.
it's because of in the long run it
It's
makes you happy or not.
it's completely dependent on that factor.
It's
It's
selfish.
not, yeah, selfish would be independent. You would have to get this regardless of, like, giving a gift just for giving the gift can be selfish, but giving the gift for the reaction
That's why I
and
love gifts.
the positive um feelings that you may be giving, or uh the positive impact you might have on somebody, that making you feel better, your selfish feeling is dependent on someone else, so it inherently has to be selfless. I hear you.
That's like that leads to something like now. I mentioned this to mom yesterday. Um, it's something I'm still trying to be okay with. Is even it's something that the beach help me realize too. Um, that even if I'm gone for a long time, I think even if I spend my time away and sheltered and focusing on YouTube or just focusing on myself in school because that's coming up and stuff, and just trying to get better and be happy. And I see like even if I saw you only a few times a year, I think you'd rather see me only a few times a year rather than see me every week. If if I'm seeing you every week and I'm just staying miserable, or if I see you a few times a year and I'm able to work on myself and
Yeah.
get better, I think you'd rather me work on myself and get better, and you see me less, but in the long run, me be better off because
I mean, that's
there's
kind of been the way it's been over the last 2 years, and I'm happy to see where you are now, because you seem like you've
that's
worked through something. Maybe not all the way to the end goal, but you have a goal in mind, is what it seems like.
when Meredith and I were friends and stuff, I did feel bad about how little time I started spending with other friends, and I started hanging out with her like 2, 3 times a week and stuff. And I was spending a lot of time with her, and then I talked to Beck about it and stuff. And he's like, "Man, you were happy. Like I didn't care that I wasn't seeing you. I was just happy that you were happy,
Yeah.
and that meant a lot to me because you know, ex- wi- it's like I don't want to be that type of person that just disappears on everybody for something like a person, another person or something,
Yeah.
and but being able to hear something like that was like
Yeah.
very eye opening. It's like, oh
I
yeah,
mean,
and
that's
I'm trying to now come. I still feel bad when I don't talk to people for a while, but it's also like I know everybody's okay with it as long as like as long as like I'm doing what I need to do for the best for me. And sometimes
sure.
it's just my anxiety shutting me down. Like January through March or April, I didn't talk to anybody besides I talked to Dwayne like a couple of times. I didn't talk to Mom for months. I didn't talk to you for months. Like I didn't talk to anybody for a while, and um, I know everybody understood, but it's still like the my anxiety was so bad that even like sending a text message was like just too much work for me to do, and I was exhausted if I did it. So it's a yeah, just like lately being so missing and stuff, and I'm not working on myself, but also I'm doing what I feel like I need to do to get through right now to a point where I can start bettering
Yeah.
myself. Right now, I'm just trying to get through because I still haven't recovered from stuff from a year ago and everything, and I'm still trying to figure out where I'm gonna head next.
Yeah.
There's a like there it's hard because it was a very hard thing for me, but also I learned that I could be happy when I wasn't happy for a long time. I
Hmm.
can't look back and remember the last time I was happy. Besides then, and so it was like I know that I can be happy, and it helped me realize that I don't. For a long time, I thought I needed a relationship to be happy, but it made me
Hmm.
realize I just need companionship, people that enjoy the same stuff I do, so I can go and enjoy myself more and do stuff like going to conventions and
Yeah.
going to Europe and traveling, going to see musicals with people and stuff like that. Like just the stuff that I really enjoy. It was like nice to have somebody to talk about my sci-fi, like Star Trek with. Like
Yeah.
I don't get to do that with, nobody I hang out with regularly watches that. So it's like, or any of the nerdy stuff that I
Hmm.
do. It was nice to have somebody I play tabletop games with regularly, like
Yeah.
all that type of stuff. And I realized like, oh, I don't need a relationship. I need a best friend, somebody to enjoy the same stuff I do and everything. So
Sure.
it's like I try to look at the positives of having that, even though I'm still
Do you feel like you're putting
recovering
more
from it.
value in what you like and your interests as opposed to value in just having friendship?
Yeah, I
But
am,
also the same, like,
I've, that's why I'm going to visit my Wisconsin and stuff. Like, I'm putting more effort into spending time with those friends that I feel like I can do those things with. And like, I love my friends in person. I'm like, everybody I know here, the friends I've had for a long time, like, I
yeah,
love them and I want to still spend time with them, but I also want to spend time with people going out and doing. I want people to go to conventions with and stuff like that. Like
yeah,
I want and then I realized looking back, like I've never, besides you, like my whole life, I never really had a friend that part of that I was able to enjoy, like
hmm,
the stuff that I do now with like all this stuff around us. Like I've never had that type of friend in my life that enjoyed that same type of stuff. So it
yeah. I
was nice
can,
to have that for a little while, and because I learned that's what was missing, but it's also obviously losing it. Like, and so now I know more and stuff, but it was also like really hard. So it's like I'm trying to look at the good stuff from it, but it doesn't. It hasn't helped yet, but I'm hoping like eventually I'll take the good from that and grow with that rather than keep looking at the loss and the
sound
feeling
like
abandoned
that's,
and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it sounds like that's already helped then, because you're looking at the positive aspect of it than
uh,
the negative aspect,
I am
and
looking
you're
at it like I'm looking at it in my like active thoughts and stuff, but it's still like it hasn't gotten to like the back of my brain. That's like causing
Yeah.
feelings and stuff, really, which
Yeah,
is the
but
hard part.
I mean, it starts somewhere.
Yeah.
So if you can actively think about it, that's an ability to rationalize. You can't necessarily rationalize all your feelings, but if you can rationalize in a sense to make decisions, that is that's the key factor. Because I think a lot of times those negative emotions and those negative things that you experience that come up, they end up creating irrational responses, actual decision making that is in line more with kind of less thought out things, more emotionally driven, and it's perfectly okay. I it's perfectly okay to have bad emotions and to let that take you somewhere, but to have it driving all of your decisions and everything, that's where you get into a lot of trouble with it. And it sounds like as long as at least you have somewhere in there some thought that can go into seeing the positive, that you can make better decisions to improve on those emotions that still happen.
Uh, I've Earlier this year, I was
Not that you want to stop them from happening, but that you want to
I
create a
was
better balance.
earlier in the year, like closer to the beginning, I was having a lot of nights that was having really bad thoughts and stuff, and so even though I was already thinking like that, those thoughts were still coming up more
Hmm.
regularly. I even had a for the first time ever I had a dream where I actually did like hurt myself in my dream, and it's like started to scare me and stuff. So even though I was having those thoughts and stuff, there, even though I was thinking about how like the good that came from it, there was still like so much because it's still like there's still until I find that somebody else for that companionship to feel less alone and have that. I just feel even with all of my loved ones around me and all my friends that I do spend time with and stuff, I still feel very lonely, like something's missing,
Hmm.
and that still, even with those thoughts, that loneliness, that it's not going to get rid of that feeling of being lonely. So it's like, and what usually gets me out of those funks is usually not the the best. Like it's usually something like, oh, I don't want if something happens to me, what happens to all my viewers? Like thoughts like that are what keeps me like, or I've had thoughts was like, okay, if I was to hurt myself, how would I do it? And like, well, no, this way somebody's gonna find me. They're gonna get traumatized this way. And then I'm like, oh, I don't want to do it because then somebody's gonna else is gonna end up being damaged because of it. I don't want somebody else to end up damaged because of my own actions and stuff like that. So it's always something like that that gets me out of it rather than the, the thought processes of, oh, there was good that came from this, and there's
Yeah.
I'm learning, and I can get happy again because I've been happy before. Because what usually happens is like I get into this spot of is it when is it no longer worth the pain that I'm going through to try to keep fighting and get out of it? Like like part of my brain's like there's some point where it's not really worth it anymore, but also part of my brain's like even for a moment of happiness, it's worth it. So it's like
Yeah.
there's a lot of back and forth there. That's like, and I never know what's like. Obviously, I don't know what's gonna happen in the future, and if I do, just keep going through how I am now, or if I'm able to find a couple more years of being happy again, or what. But I mean, I gotta at least look for that and try to find that again and be
Yeah.
happy again, be able to smile again. Because something I always remember a couple years ago, we found an old picture of me, and you were surprised that I was smiling in the picture. You said it had to be really old, and it was something that stuck with me. It's like, but then I was smiling again, and you you had mentioned it, and other friends had mentioned I seemed a lot happier for a while and stuff, and that's something that meant a lot and stuck with me. That I was trying to
I mean,
I still think
there's
about it.
definitely been quite a few in the past, say like 6, 7 years since our relationships gotten better and we've become less just brothers and friends.
Mhm.
That I've seen quite a few of those moments. They're not fleeting moments. They're not just here and gone. They're just. It's hard to it's hard to capture them when you're in the moment. But then again, you don't really want to do that because then you're not living the moment.
Yeah.
You're just trying to stay in something that you're gonna always keep going to the next thing. And like I try and stay in the middle zone. I try not to go too high or too low with anything. And I love the highs and I relish the lows too because they're somewhere outside of that normal, but keeping that normal there and recognizing that it's okay to be in this space that's neither good nor bad. And I think that's where most people end up operating, but it does become very hard to see when when those highs have happened when a lot of them are down here. So even if you are operating close to here, if you're getting a lot of lows.
What I think something I thought of because I was thinking about it on a chart like
Thanks for stopping my rambling.
uh,
I didn't know
it's
where I was going anyway.
I think about it like something with electrons, right? You have zero in the middle, and then you go down with negative,
Negative
zero
one,
pocket, but you just
one.
run on the average would run on the zero, but it feels
Sure.
like I've lowered it a little bit. My average just runs and the negatives, and then like
Yeah.
sometimes I can like a peak would be like a good day is up to zero sometimes
Yeah.
rather than, and that's what really sucks. And I think the big thing about when I say when I was happy and stuff, I think I was running at zero on average, and I had moments where I was having fun and going and doing stuff and
Hmm.
enjoying it where it would spike up, but for the most part I was just running a zero, and that's a huge change from running and the negatives constantly and
Yeah.
having to bump up to get to a zero.
Yeah. I get that. Um.
That's a like and that's what I've had different moments in my life where I do like even if where I'm like it's scarier to have like running at -2 is scarier than running at like zero and then having spikes to like -6 because the spike ends quickly. Running at -2
Yeah.
constantly is takes a lot more wear and tear on me because I'm there's no it feels like it's never gonna bump back up to
I mean,
normal
that
unless
would
it
be
does
like
at pain.
constantly walking. It's not that bad, but if you just can't stop walking, you never get to take a break. And
And
versus having to sprint every once in a while, but you could sit down and take a break.
yes,
Yeah, I get that.
and um it's like my depression, like it felt like it went away for a while and it's come back. With anxiety it's different because it comes through waves as it is.
Hmm.
Like I went a few months where my chest was like just always in pain I've because of the stress just causes me to have bad chest pain and stuff,
Yeah,
and like my arm would go numb regularly, and it's just like that's what's happening because I'm constantly stressed
tight,
out and anxious,
tense.
and yeah, um, and that's why I have struggles with my like I have high risk of heart attack and stuff because the anxiety and stuff there, and I have high blood pressure because of my anxiety and
Yeah.
everything. But luckily with that, it's like anxiety tends to anxiety is like a snowball, and it rolls downhill and keeps growing, and
Yep.
until you can reset. And even a day of no of just break for me helps reset that snowball. Not always fully, but it helps knock some of it off at least.
Yeah.
Um, a few days without it might fully reset it and it starts over again. But it's a lot easier to deal with the smaller snowball rather than everything stacking on with all the anxiety just piling on constantly. And so having that reset with anxiety is nice, and it leads to me actually like having better days and then worse with anxiety. And anxiety definitely like the depression is what leads to me having bad thoughts and stuff. But I think the anxiety that I have is definitely has a much larger impact on my life as a whole. I feel like,
Hmm.
and I think that's something a lot of people don't realize is like everything that it impacts like every little thing. Like even my last job that I had, like it was I
I mean, it's
struggled.
always there.
Yeah, I struggled so much to do my best work. Like even in school now, like I get straight A's, but I'm not doing my best because when I stress out and freak out and stuff, and everything starts piling on, and I just there's 600. It sounds like a cafeteria, high school cafeteria inside my head
Yeah,
where you can't focus on any of the voices or anything. It's like
I get that. I mean, I feel like we grew up with a very similar uh, kind of example for that, obviously, and I'll leave it there. And that has led to two different ways of approaching it, and just the same as like the friend group thing of you were looking to narrow it down, trying to actually make those formative bonds, and mine were just becoming looser, and they may have seemed like there were more, but they were just less meaningful. And for you, I don't want to put words in your mouth or anything, but what I noticed was, and what I think based on what you're saying is, yours are becoming more internal, and they build up as they kind of bury you down, but mine are like just explode out and deal with them in entirely different ways. My snowball doesn't build up because I just kind of explode too quickly, and then it does build up for sure. I definitely have those times and those days. I think everybody has stuff that does that to them, but um,
I think
mine are just so quick to just spike up and then go away.
the anxieties is like also like I don't think I could ever maintain for a long period of time a normal job because like even with my last one, luckily it worked around the way the scheduling and stuff worked. Like if I had a bad, there are days where I literally can't like I can't function because of my anxiety and stuff. And a lot of jobs like that's a big thing that happened in the military and why they medically discharged me was not the depression aspect, even though like that helped them lead
Make
to
the
me getting
decision.
out because like I got hospitalized and stuff because
Sure.
of it. But a lot of the issues and stuff were stemming from my anxiety and making it harder for me to function and just like I think this is a big thing. Is like that I like mom had come to realize that she didn't realize when I was younger, which we talked about is like she called me lazy in the past in like high school and stuff,
Hmm.
and then like both she realizes it now too, but like I came to realize that like it does like I thought I was lazy for a while too, but there's a difference between lazy and like not having the
Energy, the power.
the energy and the drive. Like I have the desire, but not the kick in the butt to get up and
Yeah.
like I really want to do this thing. I put a lot of thought into it, but I don't have. There's nothing there that
Yeah.
because of my anxiety. There's nothing there that can push me to like. I don't have like if I'm going bungee jumping, I don't have. I'm sitting there frozen, and there's nobody like to.
Yeah. Well, I wish Dad would have been able to. We have it's the same dad, but to be clear, this is my dad,
Yeah,
your stepdad or whatever
right.
you want to call him. But I don't. Again, I'm not going to put labels for you to
I
make on
mean,
there, but
I've talked to
um,
them about the when we went to his house after he passed and saying that thing on his bridge meant the world to me.
yeah. And he always thought of you as a son, but I think one of those things that I've learned from that situation, that you didn't get to experience all of it, and it probably took an impact on you because of the way you already felt about the abandonment issues and things like that that may have been there, is that he just was not who he was.
Yeah.
It wasn't that anything changed for you and him.
Mm-hmm.
It was that those thoughts of like controlling and having things like things were changing around him and he couldn't control them, and his personality and the medical things that were going on, he just wasn't able to handle those things as well as he should have, and are why I'm the way I am, with the kind of explosive reaction rather than in a quick time down. But since you didn't get to experience all of it, it may have seemed from a distance and with the feeling you had to reinforce a thought of he didn't really feel that way anymore or whatever. It wasn't as strong of a feeling, but
I think it
he,
was more of me a lot of the times. Me, especially in high school, like me I made the decision to like stop
No,
spending time with him and stuff. And at least now, I don't remember how I felt back then, but at least now, like I look back on some of the stuff he did, especially when I was older, like when he bought those vehicles and I was supposed to help
mhm,
him, or when he got Pop to give me that car.
yeah,
Like he definitely. I remember when we left the beat. Well, the once when we went down to Florida, all
mhm,
three of us drove down there. I remember when we left, he said we got no pictures of just the two of us. Next time we need to make sure to do that, and those type of things like show that obviously he cared about me and he loved me and stuff
oh
because
yeah,
he wouldn't have done these things if he didn't. I don't remember how I felt then. Like,
oh, and he 100% lashed out because you weren't coming around. So it's
but
kind
I
of
know
like
that
this
in high school I
this
did make that.
positive feedback effect of uh,
What's
you not coming around, making him react a certain way, which probably led to you not wanting to be around either. Because you're saying right now that you
there's
need that kick in the butt, and he always tried to deliver that. But this is where the point I
I
was trying to
need
make. He
internal
did that in
push
a
though.
very bad way, and he did that in the way of like, if it didn't work, he didn't understand why him being aggressive or assertive didn't translate into getting the results. And I don't think it was the right kick in the butt that you needed, but that was where he tried to go.
What's a big part of the reason I stopped going? I feel like it was that fear of missing out. Like I didn't want to leave, and then my friends like
Yeah. I
be
mean,
doing
that's what
stuff and me
made
not
me
get it.
stop going over there.
That was part of it.
Less, I'll
Obviously,
say.
like not in high school, that was a big reason. Like when I first stopped going, I think a big part of it was like me like going through puberty and becoming and like trying to shape my mind and stuff, and part of me being like, well, he's not my dad. Like that
Yeah.
probably did in like middle school. Like it very quickly went away, but there was a small sliver of time where that was a thought process. But then it got to the point where it's like, yeah, I don't want to. And then when we got older, like I did start seeing him more and talking to him a bit more and texting him and stuff.
Yeah.
When we were for the little bit of time I did have as an adult, where I was like
Yeah.
kind of realizing what he was to me and like how important he was in my life and stuff and what become. And there was also part of me like he treated us differently, and I think that messed with me a little bit too. But I think he was because at times it really did feel like he was harder on me when it was the two of us. I know he got hard on you and stuff too, but a lot of times it did feel like I would get a lot more of the anger and stuff. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of that was him trying to.
I
He
think
already
it's
knew he was your dad. I think it was a lot of him trying to
make
make
up
me,
for it.
yeah, just like
I mean, I
be my
get
dad.
those feelings.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
was
for
trying
sure.
to be my dad more so than like he already knew that you were his son. He was trying to, and
Yeah, there
I feel
wasn't
like there was a
anything
lot
he
of
needed to make up for.
yeah.
He had to really put his stamp down. And I think the other thing, like one of the hidden things with that is, do we'll never know, but was he doing something in a way that was because you responded differently to things, and it could generate a result that he thought was, because parents,
I'm
we all make mistakes. Like, there's literally, I don't
uh,
know what I'm doing 90% of the time. I know what negative things could impact because I know how they've impacted me, but how they're really going to drive a result and how you can um, get them to be the better version of themselves that you can see it. What I'm getting at is, I feel like it could be that he thought it would be better to do something different for you. Whether that's true or not, again, he wasn't all.
this is something we know better as adults. Just if you think about management styles,
Yeah.
because you, I do not work well under like angry, aggressive
Hmm.
managers. That I work well under the managers that are, if they're like accepting and they're like, okay, I understand you struggle with mental health. I'm gonna help you here. This showed itself with my last job. With I had two different managers. Each of them had different management styles, and there's a reason I did much better under the manager that was more like reaching out to me all the time, checking in on how my mental health's doing, reassuring me if I was to mess up rather than like scolding me if I was to
Hmm.
mess up. Because I don't. especially in that job, like if I was to mess up, it was typically because I was stressing out and freaking out and like
Leading
trying
with an iron fist is 100% the worst way
because
to
you just
go.
it just made me stress more and
You might
especially
drive results, but you're not going to get that person to think outside the box of what
it
you're
made me
telling
do
them to
worse
do.
because it just made me more stressed and then I
Yeah.
couldn't focus on anything and I would freak out. And when I'm stressing, I can't focus and it's like convoluted and
Yep.
it's like
And
the
unfortunately,
file
those
cabinets go
people,
everywhere.
they generate quick bits of success, and those
Well,
quick bits
some
of
people do.
success allow them to move on, and the people above them don't necessarily see the fruits of what will actually become of that. And then you have
It
someone new
works.
come in and they could do the same thing. If they have to be there for longer, then you can see how that doesn't really work.
That type of leadership can work for certain people. I'm not, but
I think it works in short bits. I
I
don't,
think, well,
but that's aside the point.
I think being able to like scold people, like be that type of manager to the people who need it. But like, I felt like if it came down to it, like there were people I got upset with and got mad at and like would scold them. But for the most part, I was just like friends with everybody that was working under me and stuff.
Yeah.
And like, just I would go up to them like while they're like working and stuff, and like, hey, how are you doing? How's your day going and stuff like that. Because that
I mean,
helps
there's a
them
difference
feel.
between constantly berating somebody and asserting and being assertive towards whatever they're
It's
doing, and doing that in a moment because of whatever situation is happening. But when you're generally being positive and you're making people feel better about the work that they're doing, then those moments can generate great productivity
yeah,
if they're needed to be that way.
because there's that aspect of okay, if you're there like it's if I don't want to mess up because I'm scared of you yelling at me,
Hmm.
or if I don't want to mess up because I'm scared of letting you down, that's like completely like I want to do my best work for you as opposed to I want to do my best work so you don't like get upset with me. There's
I mean, because one of
I
them
want to
you're going to go above and
yeah
beyond to try and deliver the best thing, and the other one you're going to deliver to the line of exactly where it needs to be, so that you don't risk messing
well, I'm gonna
something
be
up.
well. I think I focus way too much on the like I would focus way too much on the things that I would are more likely I'm more likely to mess up on or
Hmm.
I'm more likely to get in trouble for, and that would leave something else out of the loop, and then that would end up getting messed up because I'm so focused on other stuff and
Yeah.
everything. So it's like a big, and there's a lot like too with like maybe something with like mom, like with every parent messes up and every parent has their issues, and she obviously had a lot and stuff. But something I always give her credit for is she let us become ourselves,
Hmm.
and a lot of parents don't do that. They try to like if you look at like statistics on religion and political viewpoint and stuff as from parents to
Yeah.
children, they're almost always the same. She allowed us to become.
Have our own
I have
thoughts.
completely different politically and religious than she is, and
Yeah.
so many parents wouldn't allow that to happen. And like that's why I always tell her she always worries about like the way she reacted to certain things. I'm like, yeah, you made your mistakes. We all make our mistakes, especially when raising
Hmm.
kids, because we don't have. There's nothing to prepare us for that. There's no training really. There's
Especially
books and
with
stuff,
every
but the
person being
everybody's
different,
different.
there
Yeah,
is no.
there was no
Yep.
way for her to know how to handle each of us, especially when I wasn't like I didn't open up about stuff that had happened and how stuff was affecting me until I was much older, and then it was probably also hard on her because of me not having. Well, like your dad was there and he was my dad, but my dad not being in my life and her
Yeah.
wanting to make sure I was getting the equal attention that you were because
For
you
sure.
had more people getting attention, and that had been hard on her to try to be a mother to you, but also father and mother to me while not having either of us feel like because there's also the aspect
Anything was different. Yep.
because if she gives us equal attention, I might feel like you're getting more attention because you have her and your dad. But if she's giving me more attention to try to balance it out, you could feel like she's giving me more attention and you're gonna feel bad. And that's a very hard like
Yeah.
balance to deal with. And I think while she does have her own issues and she struggles with a lot of mental health stuff too, and there's a lot of stuff she did do wrong. That's something I always credit for her for was allowing us to become ourselves and grow. And like I don't with my mental health struggles, if I wasn't able to grow and explore everything myself and become myself and learn about myself, I don't know where I would be now if I'd be here now because, and I think that was a big part of me being able to learn about myself and stuff was her just letting us not free. Obviously, she was there,
Yeah.
she did, but she still allowed us to kind of explore. And like I said, like I'm very different from her opinions religiously and politically, which is not something a lot
Yeah.
of other aspects too, but I bring those two up because they are so commonly just they're just so commonly just given down through
Yeah.
generations in a family. Like they don't change often, and I think that was huge. So, oh yeah, and obviously, like this is me talking about me and stuff in this, and I know you have your struggles and stuff, and you can go back on and talk about whatever you've gone through too, because I think for me especially, I don't, I talk about myself a lot, and I think it gets to I worry sometimes it gets to a point where it feels like
Hmm.
um, I don't like it. It took a while for me and mom to sit down and me to realize like what she goes through, how depressed she is, and how bad her anxiety and stuff is. And I don't think she even knew when like my age. She didn't know. Like it took her a long time to know, and then like I was so I didn't really that stuff was hard to see when I was younger, and then I got to the point where I was going through my own mental health stuff, and it was like really bad. So I was focused on me, and but I was finally able to, and I think it helps us a lot for me and her, our relationship, a lot and stuff, to just be totally
Yeah.
upfront and honest about all that stuff. Um, and like I've never, I can see you struggle at times with a lot of this stuff, and we've never really talked about it. I know I talk about myself all the time. It helps me to talk about myself. That's a big reason I do it.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
another reason I talk about myself so much, why I originally started doing it and how I figured out it helped me, because obviously I wouldn't have known it helped me unless I was doing it already. Because hearing other people talk about their experiences helped me. So I feel
Yeah.
like if I talk about it, I'm open with it. Like I've mentioned this thousands of times on my channel. Um, I was leaving work one time to go see my psychologist or psychiatrist, one of them, and my NCO asked where I was going. I was like, I'm going to see my psychiatrist. He was like, oh, you can just say you're going to an appointment. And I turned around and was like, no, I can say I'm going to see my psychiatrist because if I'm hiding where I'm going because I don't want other people to know, it looks like it's a bad thing, and I don't want anybody to ever think that they're alone, that they're different, that it's a bad thing to go through what they're going through, because it's not. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with going to see a psychiatrist or a psychologist. Go see them. It helps you. Even if you're not struggling with mental health, I guarantee talking to somebody and therapy will help you, even if you don't feel like you're having
See,
anxiety or depression issues.
it was really weird the other day. I was listening to some people talk behind me and or around me. I don't remember what it was. Maybe it was just like in a store or something. They were talking about mental health. People have mental health, like as if having mental health is a bad thing. Like they're using that word wrong. Everyone has mental health,
Mental health issues
but
is what
it's
you.
issues. It's something that you're dealing with your mental health, because your mental health is
Yeah.
not inherently negative.
No.
It's just
It's like physical
health.
health.
It's like physical health.
Your
You can be
health.
healthy
Yeah.
or unhealthy. You can be mentally healthy or unhealthy. And I just thought it was wild to hear people like they had this sudden revelation that mental health was a thing, and of course everybody has it. Well, yes, everyone has health for their mental state, but you can't describe it as if everyone has mental health, and that's where you're saying there's an issue.
And just like everybody struggles with physical health at some point in some way, everybody will struggle with mental health at
Sure.
some point in some way. And it's oh, yeah. That's why I was bringing up.
Yeah, I'll clap so you can cut this. Sorry.
No, you're fine. But yeah, like just like physical health can for everybody can mess up, mental health can mess up for everybody. And I think if you're not prepared for that, if it gets really bad immediately, it can be very detrimental. And I think I had to do a study for my public speaking class. I spoke only about mental health, so I had to do a lot of research on like current study. There's still like more people than not think that like have a lot of negative, like think you're weak if you're depressed, or think anxiety is an excuse people have for being lazy, like stuff like that. Like the numbers are way higher than you'd expect it to the numbers of uh the numbers of people who commit suicide that don't even know that there's no evidence of them having mental health issues is very high. It was over 50%. And it's
Yeah,
crazy to me that there's still that many people who like don't get help and stuff and like don't know that they're struggling, so nobody else knows they're struggling, so the reports are different because there was no way of knowing it. So I think, yeah, that's a lot of the things with the health. People are scared to talk about it and get help, and I think that's a big reason why I'm doing this. I want to talk about myself, and like I said, you can come back on and we can talk about what you're going through and stuff. I think this was kind of eye opening. Honestly, we could do a part two of this too. There's still a lot more we can talk
sure.
about and aspects of me growing up and stuff. But I
Yeah, I
think,
feel like we only scratched the surface, but
I mean, even
this
with
is still a good place to start, and
mm,
especially if our goal is to get people to hear a story and just open the conversation.
I
Because
just want
opening that conversation, now there are so many more points to be heard and to talk about, and
well, I'll end it here with this. I'm actually gonna say it to them is like what we're talking about and like having that. It's knowing that other people go through what you're going through can help you feel less alone and like everybody's mental health is different. So don't sit here and look at me and be like, "Ah, that's not how mine." Like some I'll have different people on to talk about what they're going through and stuff because I was 20 something years old before I found a YouTube channel of somebody who was talking about their anxiety and stuff, and I was like, that's exactly how my anxiety is. And that's what made me want to do this. Was like everything presents itself different. Like everybody's anxiety and depression presents itself different, and knowing you're not alone and finding somebody else that like you can relate to in that aspect can be very helpful. And I'm hoping that talking about it and y'all listening and stuff can not, even if you're not struggling that much with your mental health, I guarantee you somebody you know is, and it could help you either work on yourself or help you be there for somebody else that's struggling and be like help under help you understand what they're going through at least a little bit and help you, because it for me, I find it so much easier to talk to somebody else who's struggling with mental health, because especially people who are like it manifests itself in the same way, um because I don't have to explain it, and a lot of the stuff is I don't I can't put a lot of the things I'm feeling into words, so it's nice to have that person who understands this stuff. So I'm hoping y'all can get something from this, and the podcast as it grows and the YouTube channel as a whole. So you have anything else you want to say before we
I tune in to Anxious Christian Gaming.
That's, it doesn't say gaming
I
anymore.
know
It's the
it's
same
Anxious
channel for
Christian.
everything.
Yeah, I know.
Eventually, I'll have more channels for stuff, but right now I need to stick to one because uh, keeping up with one is hard. But thank you all for
Fair.
watching. I'll be back next month. I actually have a guest lined up for next month as well, but this time we're going to lean into talking about his experiences with mental health and stuff. And I think he wants to talk more about his outside view on people he is close to because they had struggled. So we'll get into that next month. Thank you all for bearing with me with how this podcast has been going. I'm still trying to figure out the podcast thing, so we'll see. I think, especially having somebody on makes it a lot easier for me. So hopefully the next episode is good as well. I'm sorry. I love you all, and I hope to see you back here next time.